Now, there's a lot of arguments against renewable energy. Yeah, it's nice, but it's new technology. It's not really trustworthy. It's kind of spotty. There's no way it can handle all the energy demands of the United States. Well, California just set a record that might actually change some of that perception. Now, San Francisco Gate is reporting that early Saturday afternoon, that was last week obviously, renewable sources produced a record 67.2% of the electricity in the portion of state's power grid controlled by the California Independent System Operator. Now, that figure does not include large hydropower facilities, which added another 13.5%. Now, the ISO runs 80% of the state's power grid to show you how much of the ISO actually contributes to power in California. Now, more than half of the renewable energy flowing across that grid came from large solar facilities and wind farms. Again, it doesn't include hydro, which actually adds another large percentage to renewable energy. Now, even more amazing, the ISS numbers do not even account for electricity from rooftop solar arrays. So it doesn't count hydro, and it doesn't count when people personally put solar panels on their own roofs. That's fascinating. That's very, very interesting. Now, overall, renewables accounted for 42% of the California grid's power on Saturday, not counting large hydropower plants, of course. The fact is, according to Satu Constantine, Director of Policy at the Center for Sustainable Energy, which is a nonprofit clean energy advisory firm in Berkeley, quote, "The fact that the grid can handle 67% of renewable power from multiple sources, it's a great moment. And it shows the potential that we have. That's awesome. Sustaining such high levels, however, he said, will be challenging." So look, it's not perfect yet, but boy, are we getting there. We are making progress, and I'm pretty sure that in the future we're up for the challenge. Since again, this isn't so much of a technology problem as technology continues to get more and more efficient and better. I mean, we've got Tesla working on these battery technology, and look, this is more of a political problem than a technology problem. Now, right now, California law, for example, requires utility to get 33% of their energy from renewable sources by 2020, rising to 50% by 2030. This just blew right past that. It blew past the 2030 goal. That's kind of amazing. Now, again, there's some issue with sustainability, of course, but I think if we invest more in creating more solar energy plants, more wind farms, then we could actually supplant that and actually continue to beat that on a more consistent level. In fact, last year, California is already set to beat this goal before 2020, the first goal. Last year, California's 3 electric power utilities collectively got 32.3% of their electricity from renewables. Their goal for 2020 is 33%. You're almost already hitting that goal on a normal basis. That's amazing. Now, Saturday's numbers are the latest benchmark in what is expected to be a record-setting year for renewable energy production in California because of the growing number of solar power plants in the state, the seasonal increase in sunshine, and the flush hydroelectricity reserves produced by last winter's rain. Now, look, there's not always a lot of rain in California, but nonetheless, all the other factors, they contribute to a lot more energy for the grid. In fact, they said for a span of 3 hours on March 11th, solar power met roughly half of all electricity demand across much of the state. And California is a big state. There is a lot of people there. So that is very, very significant when it comes to energy demands. Now, according to the Federal Energy Information Administration, Department's Energy Statistics Division, the proportion of power produced from renewables on that day peaked at 56.7%. That is a record at the time. And as we heard before, that record, I mean, we're going to continue to shatter those records in California. So that is amazing. But it's not just solar and hydropower. On Tuesday, the state also set a new record for wind power, producing 4,985 megawatts. So again, that's a lot of juice. Stephen Greenlee says, a spokesman for the ISO, says it's going to be a dynamic year for records. The solar records in particular are falling like dominoes. It is possible that the state could cross the 70% threshold for renewable production this summer. That is, again, that is 20% higher than the 2030 goal just this summer. Amazing. So look, the whole point of the story is to show you that there is hope. The naysayers say, oh, it'll never happen. We'll have to stick with oil, coal, and natural gas for, you know, the next century, man. We got enough power for the century. But we don't have to. There is hope. Again, the technology is getting much more efficient. It's getting better. So, it's not really a technological problem. This is a political problem. Right now, we do not have the political will to invest in more renewable energy. Now, to be fair, Greenlee also said there's a lot of work before we see 67% renewables on a sustained basis. So that's to be fair. We still need to have some work, but at the same time, this is eminently doable. We can do this, okay? And the fact that California is leading the way and showing people that we don't have to rely solely on fossil fuels, that's a wonderful thing. In fact, most Americans are, because of all this, are massively in favor of renewable energy. In a Gallup poll conducted last year, 73% of Americans want the United States to emphasize alternative energy over oil and natural gas. And that isn't just Democrats. Now, Democrats obviously support it way more than Republicans at 89%. But also 51% of Republicans support alternative energy. Now, that support increased among both Democrats and Republicans since 2013, since the technology has been proven to be more and more effective and more efficient. Now, higher support among alternative energy also happens to coincide with falling gas prices, which is actually very interesting. So look, when it comes down to it, Americans know alternative energy is the future. Most people know that. Most people support investing more heavily in that energy. Now, the Trump administration under Scott Pruitt, with the EPA under Scott Pruitt, they're not going to do that. But regardless, I think you're going to still see a lot more, I should say, a thirst for switching over to renewable energy. And you're going to see the technology continuing to increase. Because right now, it's going to get to the point where it's absolutely undeniable that we are going to switch over away from oil and natural gas and coal. Now, the only ones who aren't getting that memo, or actually they have been getting it and they're incredibly scared, are the fossil fuel companies and the politicians that they pie. So, everybody else is on board. And as news continues to come out like this, the more support it's going to have. This is an eventual thing. It is going to happen. We are going to switch over to alternative energy. We are going to have a green energy revolution in this country, and it's coming sooner rather than later. And of course, and like a lot of things, California and progressives are leading the way. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.